Let's call the Ethics and Elections Committee meeting together here today. It's September 27th at a little afternoon, and we'll do some introductions. I'm the chair, Pete Peterson.
Forrest Dunbar. Dick Traney is in the hallway. You want to yell out your name, Dick Traney?
What?
What's your name?
Dick Traney. There you go. Sorry I'm late.
No worries.
Amanda Moser.
Amy Strohmeyer.
Dean Jakes.
Barbara Jones? You're right here, Dick.
Right where?
You're right
Oh,
here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're my left-hand man.
Hey.
Okay, I guess we'll go to new business and let's get an update on vote by mail from Amanda Moser.
Great, and I think Barbara will probably chime in if I forget anything. We've had a great last couple of weeks in the vote by mail world. Last week specifically, we had the stakeholders meeting, followed by an open house and a demonstration, and we sent out notice to all of our stakeholders. We had a nice crowd at that meeting, fantastic crowd at the open house. We had sent it to school district, to elected officials, both local and statewide, and as well as we sent out a press release, and we got a really nice turnout. We had 4 legislators from the state of Alaska, as well as both Channel 2, which did the live feed on it, and ADN did 2 follow-up pieces on it. And so we were really quite pleased with that. And then folks were able to see the Bell and Howell, which is sort of the biggest component of our transition to vote by mail. It's like the biggest price tag on our whole project, and sort of the most work has gone into this piece of equipment. And so it was really great to invite the public into that space. One thing we talk about internally is really wanting to make the MOA Election Center a community space and make people feel welcome and invited there. This is the residents of Anchorage's space, their elections, and so it's just another great opportunity to invite folks in and have them see and understand vote by mail and how this transition will work. Sort of in that same vein, we are working on scheduling open houses. We're going to partner with the League of Women Voters and have it available each month, a time during the day, during the workday, and then an evening time where folks are able to just come down and get a tour and see the space and understand vote by mail a little bit more. And so we're still just sort of back and forth with League of Women Voters to set those dates. I think it's going to be something like the first Monday of the month in the evening and the third Thursday during the day, or some variation of that. So as soon as that's scheduled, we will get that information to you, and you can share that with your constituents, especially at your community councils. It'll be great. And sort of in that same vein, again, we are really ramping up our education and outreach. We internally keep having the conversation. We need to make sure that residents of Anchorage have heard the message at least 5 times. Thank you again to Dick Traney for just always talking about vote by mail again on the record last night at the assembly meeting.
Thank
Just
you.
very appreciative of that. And we have put together a vote by mail outreach bingo. And we spoke with the folks a couple days ago, but I'm just going to give everyone a board again if you don't have one. It is so helpful that when we have these one-on-one conversations with folks about vote by mail, more so than the advertising, pass these around, more so than advertising that we're going to pay for on television, on social media, is just these personal conversations. And I realized that I did it myself. I have been working on this project since 2013, and I have been in a book club since before that, and I was at book club on Monday night, and I realized my book club didn't know about vote by mail. And so we, in addition to talking about the book we just read, we talked about vote by mail and just sort of that personal conversation with, friends and acquaintances about this. Now they all know. Now they're all looking for their ballot 3 weeks before, and they sort of have an idea of why we're transitioning, challenges with elections, as well as how to make sure that you vote correctly so that we're able to process and count that vote. So I'm just going to invite everybody again to play our vote by mail outreach bingo.
We actually have someone who has already turned in their bingo card, and it is an assembly member, so you are challenged to do the same.
And Barbara and I wanted to, as part of the members of the Ethics and Election Committee, I know we work with this a lot, we wanted to, first of all, thank Dick for repeatedly speaking on the record about vote by mail, but we wanted to ask you to be ambassadors for our vote by mail and our Anchorage election outreach, and so we have
Was that all the stickers and stuff in there?
it's even better than that. That is for you.
Such a deal.
There you go.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Here's
Wear
your new
that. People
jacket.
wonder what
I'm
I
not
do.
wearing that.
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not.
Do it before.
I will, but I will do the other stuff you ask of me. I
So,
don't wear
You
vests.
don't like blue or what?
No, I don't like vests. Anti-vests.
So
Okay,
I
then give it
wanted
to someone else.
to
Thank you, Amanda.
maybe,
Wow.
so one of the things we really wanted to, if you saw at the Bell and Howell open house, you know, Dennis did the demonstration with his vest on, so that was really good for us. I wanted to comment about Dick. Interestingly, Pete made the announcement about the meeting last night that we're going to talk about vote by mail. And Dick ran with it and said, yep, you're voting by mail, April 2018. You said it twice. So thank you so much for that. And then the other time was at the Citizen and Naturalization Ceremony as part of welcoming
I
Anchorage.
wanted them to register to vote, and this was why.
And Dick talked about it again to those new citizens and to all the other people that were there. And we, again, think those are opportunities. You have lots of those opportunities, your community council meetings, wherever you are, we really appreciate it. I was thinking Amanda talked about her book club. I was at church and someone said, oh, I saw your picture in the paper. Yeah, I'm not so sure about that vote by mail. And I took that opportunity. It was a retired attorney, you know, someone that's educated and involved in our community. And I have no idea if he agreed with me or not at the end, but at least he had more information. And that's part of what we're doing.
Thank you. So I have spoke about this at community councils and that kind of thing, and sometimes I feel not comfortable in my own knowledge of, you know, that people ask little questions and I don't really know. I kind of know, but not for sure. Do you have, I assume you have a fact page, but could you put together like a card or something so that,
Oh.
like you know what I'm talking about? Like you put it in my wallet, so if I'm out doing these kind of things, I can pull it out, just some like,
Sort of like a crib sheet?
well, no, what are those called? You know,
Like
like
a
like the
flyer.
police give those
Just a little
numbers,
short flyer.
so I can just be like, okay, here are the basic, like if you have 5 things you want people to know, like here are the big 5.
1, 2, 3.
So, a couple things. We have put together a talking points sheet, and I will email it out to this committee so that everybody has that. As we've asked our stakeholders to go out and speak with people, I will say Tom McGrath was our first respondent to an email that I sent out, and he's already spoken at 2 community councils. And so we will get you that talking points sheet, and I think it's about 8 pages long, but it just gives you a rundown.
Oh,
and
Jesus.
it just has it available for
Right,
you.
yeah.
The other thing is we had another member of our stakeholders group who spoke at an event, and the first thing that she said when she spoke at the event was, I might not know all the answers to your questions, but I will write them down and the clerk's office will respond to them. And that is another thing too, that you can always bring questions back to us and then report back, or you can take my business cards with you and give them out if people have questions and they can contact me personally. I'm getting an increased number of phone calls of just people who are seeing the stuff. I had a woman who called this morning and just said, my signature is changing. What am I going to do about that? And I was able to talk her through our machine, how it captures multiple signatures, but how we've harvested signatures from the last 4 years. So we do have her recent signature, not her signature from when she first registered to vote in the 70s. And then we also have
Your
the
trifold.
trifold, which we can have those available for you, as well as the progress reports, which is a lot of really great information. And if you just want to have, when you're talking at your community councils, you can just have a stack of those available.
But Amanda, let's look into, you know, since we don't pay for business cards, it's just an IGC, we could have a business card made up, and the trifold, when you open it up, it says vote by mail is as easy as 1, 2, 3. And so we can have 1, 2, 3, and then have the contact for the clerk's office and the link to the FAQs. And then that way, you could have it when anybody asks you to say, oh, here. So
And-
we can work on that too.
Yeah, and we are really bulking up our website, and the direct link to our website is muni.org/vote by mail. And we have all of the news articles from every time it's been in the press and frequently asked questions. And we recognize that we could have more information, and we continue to add more information each week. So it'll be a really good clearinghouse in the next week or two.
Mr. Training?
I have 10 community councils I go to a month, so I need trifolds so I can
Yeah,
pass them out.
yeah, we'll get them to you.
And I'm talking about 16,000 LDS. I've arranged to go to the circuit.
Oh, great.
Oh,
So they should all know
Holy cow.
about it by the time I'm done.
Thank you. That's incredible.
Awesome. There's 16,000 LDS language. That's nice.
You know, I think the thing that's
Yeah, the valley.
that's really important for us is we all know at the end of this, somebody is gonna say,
I didn't know about it.
I didn't know about this.
Thousands of people are going to say that.
Right. And so what, we're gonna say, yes, I understand you didn't know about this. But what we wanna make sure is that we got the info in the paper, we have the info on the website, we have it on TV and radio, and we're gonna go a lot more than the 5 opportunities that Amanda, we know that people need at least 5 times to hear it. We're gonna go above and beyond that, because we wanna make that number as small as possible and make it as painless as possible. So at all of the regular precincts, we'll have a sign up that says, this precinct is not open today, we are voting by mail, you need to go to the Lusac Library, City Hall, or Chudiak Eagle River Town Center. So we're gonna
If you
do
don't
that.
already. If you haven't already, or if you haven't received your ballot. What's she looking for?
It's around here.
Remember, a lot of schools hand out flyers to their kids. So we thought about having a flyer the kids could take home to their parents. There's a voting pattern is changing. You'll vote by mail. Every elementary school hands out tons of trash to kids. And they take it home to their parents. They're so excited to show mom and dad.
That's a good idea.
We get the message out to that many
Um,
I don't know if we
families.
can afford to print that many, but
We
You
have
know,
reproduction. They can print it.
We can
I just
certainly
did.
ask AISD to either put in a newsletter or to distribute a flyer, so we
Let's
will
talk to
certainly.
Slippage and see if they'll do it for us.
Yep.
Normally they will.
So, on our advertising, we're doing TV and radio both. Do we have a jingle? So that somebody-
Amanda sings
Oh, Pride of the East Side.
No, I'm not talking about that jingle.
I know, but you know people who write these jingles.
I actually helped write that jingle.
Yeah,
But,
it's been stuck in my head for years.
So, that's something that is catchy.
Yeah.
That would tie the TV and radio together to make the ads more effective.
I love the idea of a jingle. I don't have that strength though. If you could help us with that, that would be incredible.
We'd have a jingle contest,
Yeah.
but we need to get
Or
it done
like,
pretty
it's
quick.
vote by mail, it's coming and you can't stop it.
Wow, you've got some talents we didn't know
So
about.
include that.
Rock type stuff.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, that's just, I just
Great
happened to
idea.
think of that.
Yeah.
That's-
If you get inspired by vote by mail, that would be awesome.
Or if you know anyone that can help us with that, let us know.
Well, we obviously
See how
would
it's
have to go to a
reflected
recording studio to work on it, so that it wouldn't probably be free or anything, but.
Well, we have the MOA Video Center, and that's where so far, we're working with that's who films your meetings at night.
I could talk to
It's
John,
through-
if
it's
John
through
and
the
I play
fire
guitar,
department.
we might be able to come up with something.
John
Yeah.
Crabb?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, John Crabb is our videographer.
Oh, gotcha.
We're supposed to get a CD too, aren't we? So we can take it around to different events that has a CD. in
We'll
it.
have it on the web and on
Yeah.
YouTube.
Okay, if you
maybe
get us a
YouTube
CD,
channel.
'cause I'll take that to community councils. I've got a way to play a CD projected on the wall.
We can do,
Yeah, John's a really good musician, so.
Awesome.
This
Say,
is
you can combine two things here. You're talking about the school district and advertising them, and a jingle, have a contest, high school students in Anchorage for the best jingle.
Yeah.
For Bamia.
Or elementary school
They
kids.
could write the lyrics and then we'll put the music to it. It might take too long to put.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can work on
I
that.
like
That's a good
I
idea,
like Dean's
though.
idea, just like have all the music students be like, hey, if you can write something, we'll use it.
It could be like a startup weekend, or where it's like sort of like the pressure of like you only have this amount of time, so you just have like 48 hours to come
Yeah.
up with a.
That's a great idea.
Are you doing, so you're doing TV and radio, you also doing targeted Facebook buys?
Yeah.
And any other social media, I mean, that would, like,
Well, we
besides
use Twitter.
Twitter?
Yeah.
Those Instagram ads are a little bit pricey, but they're pretty effective, I've noticed, at least for reaching young people, 'cause they don't.
Because they're on the gram.
They
Yeah.
don't buy, they don't vote in such high numbers, but I know my opponent ran an Instagram ad last cycle, and I probably saw it 3 times in a couple weeks, you know, it's a little video.
Yeah, we can look into that.
So, are you just about, should I start talking about budget?
Just so,
Or you have a couple more things?
yeah, 3 last things on Vote by Mail. We are having the Bell and Howell system, which we had the demonstration of last week. We are still working on, we have to do a site acceptance testing 2, and that's more some of the specialized programming that was a big component of that system. And so that is something that is still in progress. Additionally, in progress, we are still working on the procedures. We have the first draft done, but the group is meeting,
The week of October 2nd.
and so we'll have that. And then we are, as soon as we have a finalized signed contract with our mail house, we will start working with the United States Postal Service on designing envelopes and all of those requirements. So we're really thankful. We have a lot of support from the United States Postal Service on our stakeholders group, and they've been very engaged throughout the entire process.
Well, we're gonna be a very good customer of theirs.
Yes,
So-
I agree. I mean, it's a chunk of change to mail this stuff.
And that's all that I got. Thank you.
Well, fantastic. All right, great. Well, I think the next thing we need to talk about would probably be the mock election. And is
I-
that something Barbara wants to talk about?
I do want to talk about that, but I'm going to tag on to the vote by mail update and talk a little bit about money.
Oh, okay.
So I did have a report yesterday from Dennis, but it needed to be updated for you. We are going to be done with the money in Dennis's contract. And I wanted to point out a couple of things to you. First, his contract that you approved in February of 2016 was $300,000. And so that was to get us a year and about 3 or 4 months. And so now we've gone, over a year and a half. But there's a couple of reasons that we're out of money on that contract, and so I just wanted to point out a couple of those to you. One is at the open house, you saw it was Dennis that's operating the Bell and Howell system. Dennis went to North Carolina to do the factory acceptance testing, and we made a calculated decision that Dennis would go and we would not go. One of us would not go because it would save money for our airfare and time. And some of the issues are pretty technical. And we thought that it would be better to empower Dennis to hold Bell and Howell's feet to the fire on those technical requirements. Again, as you saw, it is technical. There's a lot of programming that went into that machine because we don't have a voter registration database. And that's right now where the delays have been. Unfortunately, because of the delays with Bell and Howell, which I think probably could be expected with any project this size, it's taken Dennis more time. And he's holding their feet to the fire. So that is one of the issues why I would like to ask you to appropriate more money for Dennis's contract. It's Bell and Howell is technical, it's complicated, it's it's IT related. The bottom line is we're gonna end up with a system and procedures that say, Barbara, turn this on, Amanda, push this button, you know, election workers, stack these stuff up here. You know, we're gonna have procedures that are gonna allow us to do it, but we're not there yet. We are still at some of these technical software, hardware development issues that we need project management for. There's one other area that we have a similar issue, and that's with, it's related to Bell and Howell, and I think we've got it up here on the board because it's taken us so long to figure this out. This has been here for a long time. So the state of Alaska has the voter registration database. So we have to export the data from the state, and then we get it to our GIS department. And our GIS department, interestingly, if you can believe that I know this, the state records, ours are in triangles, theirs are, I believe, in rectangles, something like that. So our parcels are different than theirs. So like, this is like the precinct stuff, and this is our stuff. So the addresses haven't always matched because of the different ways of doing this. So our GIS department actually cleans up this data and makes it more accurate addresses. So if my address was 2100, I signed up as 2100 Douglas Avenue. GIS knows there is no Douglas Avenue, it's Douglas Drive, and they can fix that. All right, so that's one part. And then GIS also assigns the ballot. So remember, GIS knows not only do they have that parcel, but they have all the tax districts, including like, you know, Assembly District 1 or whatever they are. So that's how we take all of the data here, and then we know that these people get, you know, ballot style 1. Everybody in Assembly District 1 gets ballot style 1. So GIS does this work. We have contracted with Dennis Wheeler to prepare the documentation for this, so they've written a procedure for this. And then after GIS gets it, they output the data again, and this is Bell and Howell. So now it goes into the Bell and Howell system. So you know that Barbara Jones lives at 2100 Douglas. I'm in Ardsa. I'm in Assembly District 4 or 2 or something anyway. So we know that I'm gonna get the right ballot.
You're not
right?
in 4, because then I would know who you
Yeah,
are.
that's right. I'm not in 4, I'm probably in 2. But then,
3.
guess what? It's in Bell and Howell, but it still has to go to K&H, our printer. So K&H actually prints the ballot. So this is very, very complicated, but it's really important that we get it right. And ultimately, what's gonna happen is we're gonna have these procedures. Amanda and I are gonna know when we request the data from the state. We've actually got a standalone computer that we're gonna have the GIS Python process run on. Then we transfer the data to Bell and Howell. We're gonna have the procedure to do that. And then we're gonna know exactly when Bell and Howell transmits it to them, and then they print. But until we have that documented, we need project management and technical services from RDI still. So where we're at is, I'd like to ask you to appropriate an additional $50,000 for Dennis's contract. We'll be out of money by the end of this year.
When we say Dennis's contract, do we mean literally just Dennis, or is it like a small group of people? Is it Dennis plus a paralegal, or Dennis plus some kind of research?
That's a great question. So the contract is with RDI because he works for RDI. He is the project manager, so I think our contract says what his fee is. And then the other person that works with him is Cammie Fitch, brilliant woman who has saved us thousands of dollars.
But she and her salary is paid out at $300,000.
It absolutely is.
Okay.
Also, we have, they have some GIS expertise.
Yeah.
So we have Dan Regan, who's working on the GIS part.
Let's refer to it, so may I, Mr. Chair?
Mr. Dunbar?
Let's refer to it as the RDI contract.
Okay.
then, instead of the Dennis Wheeler contract.
Very good.
You know, last night we had an issue where people sort of balked at the fact, and Amy ultimately voted against the fact that we were paying this one
Charlie
guy.
Chico.
Yeah, we were paying this one guy $100,000. Now the question that I didn't ask on the record was,
A lot
I
less
should have
than
was.
that. I mean, a lot more than that.
Well, what I should have asked him is this a market rate? And I think it was. I mean, you want that kind of massive IT project, you want a project manager, it's gonna cost you $1 million. But in this case, again, like $300,000 for one attorney, for one contract is quite a lot. But if you are employing a firm that provides several different services, then it's much more reasonable. So it's called the RDI contract. That I think
Makes sense to me. Mr. Trainee?
I just don't want, I want Dennis to become another Heidi. I love Heidi, but I don't want Dennis to become another Heidi. You know exactly what I mean.
I don't know what you mean.
I
Huh?
do.
I don't know what you mean.
Heidi over here is a focal point for all of our
Oh,
agenda.
oh, okay.
If she leaves or gets sick and gone, it's Barbara and Amanda have worked hard to get a replacement for her.
That
I just
used
wanna
to be
make
the
sure.
rule.
I just want to make sure Dennis isn't in that position for us putting him there. You said he's the only one that could run that machine.
Right now.
I want to know that we've got a backup, because anything could happen to Dennis, and that just concerns me.
So, so I will agree, and one of the things when I started working here, I'm not sure if you were here then, Pete, but I did advise the assembly shortly after I started that you are vulnerable in the agenda area because nobody knew what Heidi did.
We didn't
at-
even know she worked at night watching every assembly meeting.
Right. So as
She
soon as
does.
I found that out, you also had to pay her $10,000 in back pay
Yeah.
because she had not been paid for that.
Wow.
So, however, the assembly approved hiring a part-time assistant for that position, and it was necessary because yesterday, we can talk about it in a separate conversation, with 20-plus amendments.
I heard
and,
about yesterday.
It was a pretty busy day here. There's no way we could do that with just one person or even one person and Lisa. So vulnerable, you've covered that. We're not vulnerable here. We have, it's the stable, it's RDI, it's the company, the contract is with the company. We do have Cammie. I know that Amanda and I could work with Cammie. I believe Cammie is a project manager on other projects. She's a partner at RDI. She's not a paralegal. We could work with her. We could finish the contract without Dennis. But the whole point of this is that we need him to make sure that we get this from all of this technical speak down to operational speak. And we're just not there yet. But thank you for your help. I want to make sure you understand, we do have a little bit of money in our vote by mail project, but Amanda just talked to you about our outreach and education. That's going to be gone in no time once we start doing our media buys. We'll have all of this on the books by the end of the year. We're not overspending, but we are going to make sure the project's successful. And so I've drafted an appropriation for $50,000, and I'd like to get it on the October 10th agenda. And I'll have Rose take a look at it this afternoon, and then I'll email it to you. And
Does it read RDI now, or does it read Dennis?
it says RDI. Dennis's name isn't even in it.
Well, and I don't think this is a big surprise to us. We knew that we were gonna have to come up with some more money to keep Dennis working on this project all the way through till next April. At least I knew that, so I think this
I think
was
we all did.
anticipated. So I don't have a problem with it at all myself.
Thank you.
Anybody else have questions or comments they want to make about the RDI contract?
Wouldn't you need things to go beyond April? I mean,
The contract actually goes until June of 2000, it went until June of 2017, and we'll just extend it until June of 2018. So that's right. If we have a runoff in May, and then we have certification, or certification of that, and then we have 30 days afterwards to wrap things up. So yes, it would be June of 2018.
Mr. Trainee?
Given what we already know is gonna be on this ballot, this is gonna be such a convoluted, media crazy election. We've gotta make sure we get this thing done right, so every kind of money you need to make this happen, I'm willing to support it. Because failure is not an option. We're not
Thank you.
going back to precincts, we've gotta do 100% on this thing.
Thank you very much.
Yep, and the state's watching us, and the legislators are watching us,
And so Lieutenant, one
a
meeting
couple of
Lieutenant
lieutenant
Governors.
governor candidates were at our demonstration the other day, so.
Who was that?
Two of them,
Kevin?
Gary Stevens and Kevin.
Kevin Meyer.
Well, on my podcast, Lynn Gaddis came out in opposition to vote by mail.
Really, I tried to contact him, you know, he was, Lynn Gaddis.
So
I'm Lynn Willis. Lynn
Who's Lynn
Gaddis.
Willis?
Oh,
Who's Lynn Gaddis?
Lynn
Gaddis is
she used
from
to be
the
a state
Valley.
rep in the Valley. She lost to David Wilson, now she's running for lieutenant governor.
Okay.
Yeah, she was the first, no, maybe the second person to declare for lieutenant governor on the Republican side. There's like 10 of them now.
Maybe it's too technical for her to understand. It's from the valley.
She had concerns.
They didn't like the dress being Anchorage or what?
Dick, you're on the record.
We should. I'd love to share my feedback on it off the record.
All right, let's move on to something else. We've got this mock election coming up, and I got an email that had a long list of dates that, I imagine is similar to the dates in the normal elections. And so we're gonna work on practicing, so we'll be ready for April. And so I guess that's the next subject. we'll
right,
talk
and
about.
it starts tomorrow. So filing for office, or the notice goes out tomorrow, and filing for office opens on Friday. We did put on the calendar, it took me a while to figure this out, to say, the clerk's gonna select the candidates, don't come in and file, because we're not gonna let you. Amanda and I are filing up who that candidate is going to be. It may be Mickey Mouse, it may be someone else. But we want to make it fun, and we want people to get engaged, but we don't want it to be too ridiculous, and we don't want it to be too serious. So we're going to try to find some medium ground with our candidates. We're going to be selecting 3 propositions so that we can really test the system. I think we've talked to you about that before. So I am going to put those propositions on your next agenda, so you're going to see those. They're just mock election propositions. They really, if anybody wants to testify again, it's an opportunity for us to say, hey, we advertised this. So I don't expect you to spend any time on them unless you feel you need to, but those will be on your next agenda for introduction and approval.
Can one of the ballot propositions be turning the Glen Highway at Kluge into a toll road?
It could, I think we can,
That's cute.
let's look at that. I have a feeling it will be, it will probably be Disneyland Road into a toll road, and we'll make it sound like it's the Glen Highway, but we won't actually use that.
As long as it's at the outside, just outside of Anchorage.
Yeah.
Right at the border of Anchorage.
Okay. We have, we want to test ins and outs, so that we really test our database. And so that's why we're going to have 3 ballot propositions. So, but anyway, you'll be seeing that in the next couple of weeks. So that's that part for the mock election. Can you think of anything else?
How many ballots are we talking about doing?
So we are doing municipal employees, but only qualified registered voters municipal employees. So we anticipate just 2,800 municipal employees. It'll probably be closer to about 2,000. Just not everyone's registered. A lot of folks don't live in Anchorage.
So where are they gonna drop their ballots off at? Are they gonna mail it in?
We're gonna mail them, and then we'll
Drop
have
boxes or what?
we'll probably have drop boxes in City Hall, and they probably won't be where our normal drop boxes are, but just because we're practicing.
So we're not gonna physically put out one of the big drop boxes. That's a cost. The cost alone to mail and print the ballots is, at one time I thought about 10 grand. I think it's probably gonna be closer to 5. So we've got real money that's going out to do this. So moving a drop box, we have to pay someone, a moving company, to move it and set it and then bring it back. So we're just gonna have like probably ballot type boxes, like we'll have one in the clerk's office and maybe one somewhere else. So people can drop off at the clerk's office, which they'll always be able to do anyway, or at our accessible vote center downstairs, or they'll be able to mail it back in. So they would have options.
Fantastic.
I wanted to test the different ways,
Yep, you guys are gonna
how it
be,
works. Some
you-
members will know.
you're municipal employees, so you're gonna get a ballot.
So we're decided not to include the school district employees, we're just going with muni employees.
You know, we have contacted the school district about this since your meeting in, gosh, I'm afraid to say it may have been your March meeting and your June meeting, and we just haven't gotten an enthusiastic enough response from the school district. I've sent an email and asked to set up a meeting to discuss it after I talked to Dr. Bishop, probably in June. I never got a response. So we're just out of time, and so unfortunately, we're not gonna have school district employees.
Okay,
As a side note, she has a personal issue going on. Her husband has cancer.
Oh,
I heard that.
wow,
So that may be tying her attention up.
Yeah.
what a bummer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else on the mock? It's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be in December is when the official election is, first week of December or something, 5th maybe?
Yep.
All right, December 5th. Fantastic. All right, anything else? We've got any old business, something that we discussed at prior meetings that we didn't finish our discussion on? Anything to do with ethics that we need to discuss at this meeting today?
I think that you agreed at your last meeting that the Board of Ethics could come quarterly, and they like that idea. So they'll be here in, probably sometime in the next couple of months to just report to you.
Oh, okay.
Chris Constable, would you contact him? He's got a ethics question he wants to ask the ethics board about.
Okay?
And that should probably be a private response back to him.
Okay.
So I just told him you'd contact him, or he'd contact you. He's got a question he wants to ask you.
Okay.
Anything else? Any comments from the audience? As we're at the audience participation
I
segment.
miss our guy from the valley coming in here. He stopped coming to these. I don't know if we bored him or what.
I actually heard people from the valley talking about him when we were at Haynes at the Municipal League Conference.
Yeah. He's pretty active.
Their feelings are similar to ours. So, all right, well, I don't think we have anything else to discuss, so I think we're adjourned.
Yay.